Hey everybody. There is a part of this book that I want to read to you, but this is not going to be a novel we're reading fully. I'm only reading a couple pages. But just so you know where it's from, it's called Orbiting the Giant Hairball by McKenzie. So I'm picking up only like a page or so into the intro. And this book is about an artist that works in the corporate world, and he got an opportunity to speak at a school about art. So let's get started. Sculpting in steel had already been a passion of mine for 4 or 5 years when a colleague at Hallmark asked whether I would be interested in giving a demonstration of my craft to the students of the grade school where his wife served as the cultural arts coordinator, aka Picture Lady. I accepted the invitation and found it such a delightful experience that I made visiting schools a part of my sculpting adventure for the next several years. A dozen times a year, I'd take a day off from work to make magic with the children. Arriving early in the morning, I'd set up the shop in the school's art room or gymnasium. Most commonly, the schedule had me visit with one grade level at a time, spending about 50 minutes with each. As I was putting on my welding goggles and scarred leather apron, the teachers would herd the children in, barking orders at them to sit cross-legged on the floor in rows facing the semicircle of sculptures and equipment arranged at the one end of the room. Chatter, 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 chatter. Quiet, children, quiet. Chatter, 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 chatter. Quiet, Joelle, Cindy, quiet now. Whisper, 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 whisper. Robert, shh. Pam. With the coming of silence, the children's faces took on a certain solemnity. Satisfied that order had been attained, the teachers would retire to the back of the room to lose themselves in grading papers, leaving me, for all practical purposes, alone with the children. I always began with the same introduction. Hi, my name is McKenzie, and among other things, I am an artist. I'll bet there are other artists here too. There have to be with all the beautiful pictures and designs you have hanging in your classrooms and up and down the halls. I couldn't help but notice them when I first got here this morning. Beautiful pictures. They made me feel wonderful, very energized. So many bright colors and cool shapes. I felt more at home when I saw them because they made me realize there are other artists here besides me. I'm curious, how many artists are there in the room? Would you please raise your hands? The pattern of responses varied. First grade. En masse. The children leapt from their chairs, arms waving wildly, eager hands trying to reach the ceiling. Every child was an artist. Second grade. About half the kids raised their hand, shoulder high, no higher. The raised hands were still. Third grade. At best, 10 kids out of 30 would raise their hand, tentatively, self-consciously. And so on up through the grades. The higher the grade, the fewer children raised their hands. By the time I reached 6th grade, no more than 1 or 2 did so, and then only ever so slightly, guardedly, their eyes glancing from side to side uneasily, betraying a fear of being identified by the group as a closet artist. I would describe to the 6th graders the different responses I had received from the other grade levels. Then I'd ask, what's going on here? Are all the artists transferring out and going to art school? Usually in recognition of my little joke, the students would laugh. I don't think that's it. I'm afraid there's something much more sinister than that at work here. I think what's happening is that you are being trickled out of one of the greatest gifts every one of us receives at birth. That is the gift of being an artist, a creative genius. They would reclaim their creative genius. I'd tell the students, it may not be easy, but it will always remain doable. We'll go further into that later on. The point is, every school I visited was participating in the suppression of creative genius. Why? Why would anyone want to suppress genius? Well, it is not intentional. It is not a plot. Genius is an innocent casualty in society's efforts to train children away from natural-born foolishness.